Dear ladies and gentlemen, professionals in the tourism industry and innovators, I am delighted to be among you virtually for the second edition of Boost. For a few weeks, Belgium has had the honor and the opportunity to succeed to our Spanish colleagues and take the reins of the presidency of the Council. With our partners from different entities, Belgium intends to propose an ambitious work programme striving to advance several crucial issues with the necessary commitment and determination. We do so at a critical juncture for the tourism sector in Europe. This industry has been the backbone of cultural exchange, innovation, and unforgettable experiences for travellers and locals alike. However, the past few years have presented new challenges, forcing us to adapt, evolve, and reimagine the way the sector operates. Tourism is recognized as a sector of a major importance at the European level, contributing to economic growth and the creation of quality jobs in many regions of the Union. As the Wallon Minister of Tourism, I am pleased to see this topic having gained prominence on the European agenda in recent years. Indeed, past presidencies as well as the Commission have set forth an ambitious agenda for tourism. This ambition is best conveyed through the focus put on the twin transition of the tourism sector: digital transition on the one hand and sustainable transition on the other, aligning with cross-cutting Commission's initiatives such as the Green Deal and the Fit for 55 package or the European Data Act. In this context, the Presidency continues to promote tourism as a means of sustainable economic development. We will work with our European partners to support the tourism industry in its dual transition. In this regard, the digitalization of the tourism sector will be one of my highest priorities during this semester. Indeed, in a rapidly evolving market, the enhancement of our sector's digitalization is paramount. While we place particular emphasis on supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, we aim to address all dimensions of the tourism industry. Tourism actors should embrace digital tools, particularly data and data platforms. This will provide seamless, secure, and adaptable digital interaction. Tourism should also be provided with innovative products and services while enabling them to communicate their satisfaction or preferences. Lastly, our tourism strategy should be data-driven and foster innovation. Actions have been taken in Belgium based on these objectives through the use of the National Recovery and Resilience Plans funds. For example, financial support is provided to SMEs in order to improve digital skills, a digital touristic pass is offered to customers, and the public sector's web platform have been redesigned. Thus, during our presidency, we will promote the sharing of best practices and experiences in digitalization to facilitate the sector transformation. I believe that by embracing digitalization, nurturing a holistic ecosystem, and promoting sustainable practices, we can set our industry on a resilient path for the future. I wish you a productive day full of opportunity to satisfy your curiosity. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sincere thank you also to the hosts and to the organizers for this invitation. I've been asked to make a contribution on this interesting debate on purposeful tourism this morning, and to set the ball rolling, I'd like to start off with an inspirational comment by Jane Goodall, philanthropist Jane Goodall, who told us what you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. And one of the differences we would like to make at EISMEA in order to enhance purposeful tourism is via the financing of tourism projects and in particular SMEs, because it's a well-known fact that SMEs represent 99% of all businesses in the EU. Now, there's an impressive lineup in Boost here with some big companies present, but it's an undeniable fact that most of the tourism enterprises in Europe are SMEs, and that's a fact which we should always take into account. First things first, let me give a short snapshot of what is EISMEA. It's one of the European Commission agencies, executive agencies, dealing in particular with the European Innovation Council and with SMEs, but just like us, there are other agencies dealing with different thematics also, be they research, education and culture, and the rest. It's also important to have a clear idea what EISMEA does, and we implement in particular three particular programs, or at least parts of these programs, be them the European Innovation Council and the European Innovation Ecosystems, the Single Market Program, under which tourism is funded, and the parts of the European Regional Development Funds, particularly those relating to inter-regional innovation initiatives. And in total, the budget we handle, not only for tourism, of course, is 1.9 billion funds, and that gives us in total currently in the region of 2,335 projects that are being handled by our agency. As I said, the Single Market Program is the program which finances tourism. And the program is there to help the single market reach its full potential and ensure Europe's recovery after COVID. We have a budget of 4.2 billion in total in the multi-annual framework of 2021 till 2027 for all projects, and 1 billion of this goes to the competitiveness of enterprises. There's also the predecessor of SMP, which was COSME, mentioned this morning in the video by Nest, for instance. And there the budget was of 2.3 billion for the previous programming period. So as you can see, there is more or less double the amount dedicated to the new funding program, which is SMP. And both provide support to businesses and especially to SMEs. Now, enough on our agency, enough on SMP. I'd like to focus now on how we help the SMEs. And one of the main areas through which we help SMEs, but not only SMEs actually, because our calls, they are the tourism calls, we have one every year. Our calls are open to all stakeholders, all legal entities, be they public sector, be they universities, chambers of commerce, the different stakeholders, associations, foundations, etc. Well, everybody can apply for our projects, for our calls, as long as there is a considerable amount of the funds that they request from us dedicated to SMEs. So as you can see in those 4 different years, there has been a different thrust every year on thematics related to purposeful tourism, to sustainable tourism, digitalization, recovery from COVID, and also the twin transition, also mentioned in the Nest context, but also by the Belgian minister in the video there. And every year there was a different budget, which you're seeing there, and in total we funded in these recent calls of 4 years, there were other calls before, of course, in the region of 31 projects, which most of them actually are still ongoing. And incidentally, this afternoon at 6 o'clock, there's one of these projects coming up with an award ceremony for the SMEs Tourism 4.0 forming part of the consortium is also NEST alongside other partners, including the coordinator Federturismo. So, in terms of the tourism calls, we look at the twin transition, mentioned before also, which is in principle looking at more sustainable practices and digitalization, and these look into and strictly adhere to the current tourism policy, which is the EU tourism pathway and the agenda for tourism 2030. Now, for tourism, there have been 47.5 million euros dedicated specifically through these 4 calls for tourism. Now, depending on your point of view, this can be big money or small money. It can be big money for all SMEs that are there because we actually facilitate their growth through such funds. So it's important to realize that we have, through these 4 calls, reached out and supported around 11,500 SMEs across Europe. Of course, these are not only the only funds available for tourism SMEs and tourism stakeholders through the European Commission funding. There are others because tourism is so horizontal that it extends into other areas, other thematic areas, be they the environment, transport, culture, education, fisheries, the maritime sector, and what have you. And each and every one of these sectors have their own funds. But I'm focusing on our funds, the 4 calls which I've just mentioned, which will become 5 because effectively there is an open call right now on resilience and on sustainability. And this, once again, seeks to empower the SMEs additionally. And there are 8.5 million euros being dedicated with a deadline of the 21st of February. So if there are any stakeholders present in this room also, you are more than welcome to apply accordingly for such funding. Because I said before, our main intention is to finance as much as possible the SMEs, to help the SMEs in their growth. And there you can see in orange the increasing importance being given to SMEs and to their financing through what we call the financial support to third parties. It's the FSTP there. Financial support to third parties means effectively financial support to SMEs. And each and every one of these projects dedicates a good chunk of the resources, of the financial resources which we give, which we co-finance to these. And this will be the case also in this afternoon's session, which I invite you also to be present. It's at 6 o'clock. So, you might be asking, which are the eligible activities which we finance? And I've tried to broadly group these in 4 different categories so that you'll get an inkling and an understanding of what effectively we give out. Because to SMEs, we dedicate, say, around 10,000 euros per SME to help them in one of the different areas which you are seeing listed there, being knowledge transfer, for instance, and there I'm referring to the different meetings, the different networking possibilities, matchmaking, communication initiatives, events, etc. The business orientation activities, which are those relating to data collection, GDPR requirements, the intellectual property rights, regularity compliance, the business mentoring, also scaling up. These are all activities which form part of our financing. Sustainability also, so we're looking at SMEs gaining certification, the implementation, facilitating the implementation of certification schemes. We've facilitated SMEs getting, I don't know, EMAS and EU Flower, and also Travel Life for travel agents, for instance, and digitalization. Digitalization through public and private partnerships, and the use, for instance, of neuromarketing techniques, because I've had projects with neuromarketing techniques, how these can help SMEs in their promotional activities. And what best to hear from the horse's mouth why and how the tourism financing has helped them. And I chose a particular example of Portuguese startup that focuses on nature and heritage digital tourism, and he can tell us if the technical services can help us through this short video. He can help us tell us about the data collection that he has gathered through COSME, through our financial instrument, to come up with a new app that helps in terms of having a clearer idea in the different products they offer about the number of tourists, the nationalities, the main points of interest, the visited route, and popular periods of times. And all this information, he has started off at local level, and it has reached now regional level, and he is also collaborating with the public sector in terms of profiling of visitors. Please, to the technical services, maybe put up the short video of this startup.
Na GeoNature consideramos os dados e seu manuseamento muito importante nas tomadas de decisões. É exatamente por isso que estamos a melhorar estes processos de recolha e análise. Somos uma startup e desde 2018 que digitalizamos produtos turísticos relacionados com o turismo, natureza e patrimonial. Trabalhamos a sustentabilidade nos 3 pilares, ambiente, social e económico, e estamos sempre a tentar implementar novos produtos e serviços para aumentar a nossa abrangência. No nosso caso, vamos explorar todas as potencialidades de interação da nossa aplicação GeoNature, uma plataforma de valorização e promoção turística, onde integramos rotas e percursos pedestres, pontos de interesse e agentes turísticos. Todas as ferramentas são válidas no processo de aquisição de dados, obviamente não pessoais, e quanto maiores as habilidades digitais para o seu tratamento, melhor para os nossos produtos e serviços. É assim que vamos entender melhor os nossos clientes e proporcionar soluções pensadas e baseadas nos dados que trabalhamos.
So it's all about experiences, Joe Pine told us. And in this case, it's not a travel experience, but it's an operational experience to help in the growth of this particular startup. Because I'd like to conclude with this other quote from Jane Goodall: "The greatest danger to our future is apathy." Because I think we cannot do everything, dear colleagues, but we can certainly do something. And that something we have chosen to do ourselves at ASMEA is to facilitate the growth and the competitiveness of tourism SMEs within the context of purposeful tourism. Thank you very much.